Hello and welcome to SQL Server 2012 Test Lab on Windows Server 8 Hyper-V. This Test Lab series focuses on using Windows Server Hyper-V to create a SQL Server 2012 Test Lab. My name is Prakash. I work as a Senior Infrastructure DB at Advent. You can check my blog for the post and any attached scripts. Also, you can connect me on Twitter and Facebook. I look forward to hear from you. So here is the agenda. So this will be the fifth part of the series, where today we'll be installing SQL Server 2012 on Windows Server 8, and in today's post will be part of two videos. First video will cover installation of SQL Server 2012 with the wizard on the first virtual machine we created on the part 4. Alright, so here is what we have done so far. We have first article which talks about creating a low power SQL Server test lab on Windows 8 Hyper-V, which also supports ISCSI. So look at this configuration if you are looking to build a very low power, still cheap configuration to test out SQL Server configurations. So in second article, we talk about using a Windows Server 8 Hyper-V lab, which can boot from VHD, which basically allows you that if you have a laptop or desktop at home, which you can spare for Hyper-V testing, so you can create a virtual hard disk within Windows 7, and then you can boot directly from VHD. In that case, you do not need to change anything other than just a boot configuration entry, which just point to this VHD. Other than that, your Windows 7 installation remains intact. The third part, we talked about configuring the Hyper-V networking and the basic setups, as well as the domain controller. One of the things I would like you to go back and make sure that the network configuration, you should set the DNS to your home router gateway, which could be 10.0.0.1 or 192.168.x.1, whatever. So make sure that change you have made. Otherwise, those VMs will not be able to ping to each other because they'll be using the Hyper-V network to talk to each other. And then in the fourth series, we configure a storage server, and then we talk about configuring the domain controller. We set up the basic domain controller, created some test accounts. Now on series 4th, we configured the same domain controller also playing the role of storage server. In today's article, we are talking about installing SQL Server 2012 on Windows Server 8. So this would be the first VM which we created when we configure the domain control. So we will be installing SQL Server 2012 on this using the GUI wizard, and we'll creating the configuration file, and then we'll be creating 2 more VMs and then installing the automated SQL Server install on rest of the 2 VMs. And the reason I prefer automation is that all 3 VMs which we are creating, they need to have same configuration in terms of where the data file, log file, and rest of the configuration, so that your installation of availability groups later on would be pretty smooth. So today there are 2 videos you'll find on my website. The first video will cover the SQL Server default installation. We'll talk about the basic properties, some changes on that, and then finally a configuration file which we'll use. And also we'll install the 2 VMs simultaneously. And in the second video, we'll be using the configuration file and finishing rest of the VM setup, SQL setups, as well as making sure that all 3 VMs are able to talk to each other. They are on network, they are on domain controller. So that way we are ready for the next series to cover configure availability groups. So I made a change. I added 1 more VM because I wanted to have 2 availability groups which we can use it for the testing, and multiple databases to create some more failover scenarios, as well as the the better way we can show how availability group will work. So please make sure that your server DC is aligned and your IP addresses are aligned according to this. If you are having 192.168 IP address, then make sure that all 10.0.0 are replaced with that. Try to keep same IP addresses, that way it would be easy to debug, and try to keep same logins as well as the always on group names. That will help us to make sure that the configuration is working as expected. So we already have created QDC DB21. In this video, we'll be creating DB22 and 23. We'll give them those IP addresses, configuration, and all that, and basically granting them HV admin access, adding them to domain, and finally installing the automation installations. So let me jump on to DB21 and we'll start there. As we are preparing a SQL Server test lab, we'll be configuring total 3 VMs. Each of the VM will have a SQL Server standalone installation. So the complete installation will be very identical in all the 3 instances. First one will use the GUI interface, and the next installation will use the command line automated install. So go ahead and disable the Windows firewall. Click refresh. Okay, firewall is completely off. Go to Internet Explorer, search for download SQL Server 2012 evaluation edition. Click on this link. Download the first file as you're seeing here. It's an ISO. Extract ISO with 7-zip. I have already downloaded this file, so I'll just go ahead and click it. Click on setup.exe. I have created one file where I have put up the basic configuration, what we'll be doing. So we'll be installing everything, all the data file, log file, all other normal configuration into a folder called C SQL 2012 data. We'll be using this particular path for DRC replay client for result directory and working directory. So let's go ahead and create these folders. Okay, folders are created. Close PowerShell. Okay, we are at installation screen. Click on installation. Click on new SQL Server standalone installation. Run. Once the installation is clicked, go ahead and click this window. Close this as well. And this as well. Click on show details. Everything looks good. Click OK. Click next. Click accept. Send feature data usage. Next. Click show detail. Everything looks good. Click next. Click next. Select all. Click next. Show details. Click next. Next. Click next. We'll be using the HV admin account what I have created. I entered the login and password on all these accounts where it is allowed. These 2 services are grayed out. We'll configure SQL Server agent to start automatic. Click next. Click mix mode. grant a password, add current user, click data directories, click and select the drive we just created, SQL 2012 data. All that will change. Click next, add current user, click data directories, change C program file Microsoft SQL Server location for all the data and log file directory to SQL 2012 data. Click next. Click next. Add current user. Click next. Give controller a name. Find the working directory. Working directory. Find result directory here. Click next. Click next. Show detail. Everything is looking good. We are on ready to install. So these all activities SQL Server would be doing. Now check this configuration file path. This is what SQL Server will use to do all the configuration. Now we'll be installing SQL Server 2 more times on 2 different nodes. So let's copy this configuration and we'll use this configuration file to install SQL Server on a command line next time. Copy, do window R, open this file, pick file, save as, store configuration file on SQL Server location, give it a name, configuration file underscore QDC21, click save. Okay, click install. So SQL Server will take a lot of time to install now. We'll go ahead and configure the second virtual machine. I'm on Hyper-V server. Let's configure first differential hard disk. Click differencing. In case you're not aware of differencing hard disk, please see the video part 3 of the series where we have configured the differencing hard disk as well as the parent hard disk, and we talk about the concept, how it works. Click next. Browse. We'll be creating another folder with QDC DB22. This would be the name for our new VM. Click select folder. Give VMDK file a name. Click next. Select the parent hard disk. Click next. Finish. We created virtual hard disk. Now let's go ahead and create the virtual machine. Make it 1024. Click on use dynamic memory. Next. Select the network card. Use existing virtual hard disk. Browse. And the hard disk what we just created. Next. Finish. Connect to QDC DB22. Click on start. Now this machine will take another 15 minutes to finish and get onto a setting page. Meanwhile, let's go and check the status of SQL Server 2012 install on QDC DB21. SQL install is almost 18% completed. It may take another 20 minutes to finish, so I'll be back once it is done. We are on QDC DB22. The installation is completed. We are on setting page. Go down, click skip. accept, next, enter password, click finish. Okay, click action, Control Alt delete. We logged on to DB22. Let's go to local server, change the IP address, disable IPv6. Check the values. IP is 29 for node DB2 and DNS server is 99. Click OK. Close this window. Go ahead and change computer name, QTC DB22. Click change. Click OK. Close. Restart machine. Once machine is restarted, we'll add it to domain. Okay, I have RDP to QTC DB22. Click local server. We'll go ahead and add it to the domain. HVadmin. Click on restart later. We'll choose and do a shutdown and take a snapshot of this machine so that we can roll back at any point of time as needed. I'm on Windows Hyper-V server. QTC 22 is off. Go ahead, click on a snapshot. Okay, the snapshot is created. And we have created the QTC DB22 node. Now let's go back and check status of SQL Server installation on DB21. We are on DB21's installation has completed fine. Click close. We'll shut down the server and take a snapshot. Okay, I click on DB21. There is already a previous snapshot got created in part 3 when we configure the domain controller. So we'll go ahead and drop the snapshot so that we can take a new one. Click delete snapshot subtree. Now click on DB21. Click on a snapshot. Okay, that is good. Go on to DB2, click a snapshot. You can take a snapshot while the VM is up and running, but it's better if you shut it down and take it off. It's very fast that way. On DB21, merge in progress is still there. So let's wait to finish. While DB21 is doing a snapshot complete process, we'll go ahead and start creating third VM, QTC DB23. Click new, hard disk. Next, differential, next. Click new folder. Make it QTC DB23. Click select. Give the hard disk name DB23. Click next. Select parent virtual disk. Click next. Finish. Okay, hard disk created. Let's create the new virtual machine. DB23. 1024. Use dynamic memory. Click next. Next. Use existing hard disk. Finish. Right click on 23, connect, start. Now this VM will take another 15 minutes to finish, and we'll be back when we are on the setting page. Let's go to DB22 and start it. Okay, I'm on QTC DB23. Installation is completed. Let's configure the setting. Go down, click escape, accept, next, enter password. Okay, we are on DB23, just logged in. Click on IP address, uncheck 6, click properties. This is QTC DB23. Let's find out the IP address. So VM3 is QTC DB23. IP address is 10.0.0.30. IP address is changed. Click refresh. You can check if domain controller is accessible now. Perfect. Server is able to see domain controller. Let's change machine name. QTC DB23. Enter computer name and add to the domain, both at the same time. Click OK, close, restart. Okay, DB23 is rebooted. Let's disable firewall. Click OK. Refresh. Okay, everything looks good. We finished configuring DB23. Well, so we just finished configuring VM1 with SQL Server 2012 using graphical interface. We'll see you very soon in the second part of this video, where we'll configure rest of the two nodes with using automated install. Well, thanks for attending this session. You can check the complete article on the blog sqlfeatures.com. Connect me on SQL Features, Twitter or Facebook. Look forward to hear your input. If you like it, let me know. If you see something needs to be changed or improved, or I missed something, I'll look forward to hear from you. See you in next video.